and I, red and ready, here we on. Yeah. Calling the red army, calling out all of we, friends and family with love for TNT. From the mountain top to the valley low, everywhere we go, country before party. PNM, we working together, we building together. Young will make it better. PNM, side by side together, we standing together for our nation's future. This is a movement we all in together, not just so one, my sister, my brother. In your hand, PNM is the plan. Ready, hold it steady. PNM, speed moving. One blood flowing through we vein. Speed moving. Red army on the road again. Speed moving. Every creed and every race. Speed moving. Together, no time to waste. Speed moving.
Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to recognize our Honorable Prime Minister, the Honorable Stuart Young SC, who is on his way. Let us give a round of applause to our Honorable Prime Minister. Allow me to recognize our political leader and the 7th Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, who is paying close attention to what is happening here tonight. Of course, none other than Dr. the Honorable Keith Christopher Rowley. I, of course, acknowledge the distinguished lady and gentlemen who are sharing the head table tonight. Allow me by put your hands together and assist me in welcoming. Of course, he is no stranger to you, the beautiful people of this constituency. RUNG West, St. Joseph, I want to hear you make some noise as I recognize your own, the Honorable Terence Dial Singh. Allow me to recognize another brother in service, the Minister of National Security, and of course, the PNM Perspective candidate for Aruka Lopino. Aruka Lopino represents tonight. Make some noise for your Perspective candidate. And of course, at the People's National Movement, because of the caliber of our party, we attract young and vibrant talent. And here sharing the hustings, who will be making her way to the hustings for the first time in her political career. I know we at the PNM welcome youth. We welcome talent. Put your hands together as I welcome my sister in service, Miss Marisha Alvarado, the candidate, the PNM's Perspective candidate for Tabakit. I understand in the opposition there are some people waiting for a late call. I did common entrance, and back in the days, if you didn't pass the exam, you wait on a late call. Unfortunately, we at the PNM have fielded 41 strong candidates. And I see another young candidate, the baby of our election, a 26-year-old Lena Rampasad. Allow me to recognize another standard bearer. Ladies and gentlemen, I see, of course, the matriarch of our great party, the beautiful Joan Yule Williams, upon whose shoulders we stand. I see many of my my ministerial colleague, of course, the dashing, most gorgeous, that minister who leads the charge in the Ministry of Social Development. Put your hands together as I recognize and acknowledge Minister Donna Cox. Leading the charge, of course, on our social media feed is Dr. Amory Brown, the Minister of Foreign and CARICOM Affairs. All PNM soldiers out tonight. Allow me to recognize, of course, our deputy political leader and the man who's responsible for leading our national campaign, of course, Mr. Rohan Sinanan, the Honorable Rohan Sinanan, who's also the Minister of Works and Transportation. PNM, and when I talk about PNM, we talk about bright and we talk about young talent. And I also see, put your hands together for Kareem Marcel, another standard bearer of the People's National Movement, and of course to this most beautiful constituency of RUNG West St. Joseph. How it go look if I do big you all up? Put your hands together as we recognize Mr. Douglas Williams, the chairman, and his most able team. I understand we have the father of our Prime Minister who is also here. We must recognize, of course, Mr. Richard Young, because we know we are only as strong as the people who support us. Allow me to recognize all party officials and executive members, all members of local government, the PNM membership, the new voters, the undecided voters, the disenchanted voters, those who have recently rejected the UNC's chaos and confusion with resignation after resignation. We also recognize you. Why? Because in the People's National Movement, there is a place and a space for every single one of you. And of course, the ladies and gentlemen of the media, welcome and good night. Trinidad and Tobago, we are the People's National Movement. And tonight marks the beginning of a new, of course, of our national campaign meetings. Ladies and gentlemen, at the People's National Movement, we will be moving from constituency to constituency throughout Trinidad and Tobago to share the PNM's message. Brothers and sisters, and especially to the young voters of Trinidad and Tobago, the PNM message is characterized by unity, loyalty, ability, and strategy. If you agree with that, I would need you to make some noise. To the young voters of Trinidad and Tobago, and especially to our campaign manager, I have a little message for you, Honorable Campaign Manager. Campaign Manager, 41 candidates with might and vigor. Mr. Campaign Manager, 41 candidates, of course, strong candidates, and red is we color. Mr. Campaign Manager, red as we know is bold, it is bright, a color for warriors of strength and a beacon of light. Mr. Campaign Manager, my PNM brothers and my PNM sisters, we bid farewell to our great and phenomenal doctor. But brothers and sisters, now, here today, we write together our PNM new chapter, and that deserves a round of applause. And as we speak, I see our newly minted Minister of Finance. Please put your hands together, of course, as we recognize our Minister of Finance. Ladies and gentlemen, of course, in Trinidad and Tobago, as we lead to our national campaign, we are all in. Of course, St. Joseph, Tunapuna, and of course, St. Augustine. We are all in for the beautiful Trinidad and Tobago, and side by side we stand with, of course, Young in command. As we begin these meetings, I urge you to tune in and listen to our speakers as they take you through, brothers and sisters, where we have come from as a political party, what we have done as a political party, and more importantly, where we intend to take Trinidad and Tobago as a political party. Trinidad and Tobago, in writing this new chapter, we encourage you to be a part of the PNM transition. We encourage you to be a part of the People's National Movement. As I said, fresh faces we have introduced here tonight, new young people taking social responsibility for Trinidad and Tobago, and soon she will be writing and adding her pages to the PNM new chapter. Put your hands together as we move, of course, to the young people who have offered themselves to serve. Out of our 41 candidates, we have screened all, we have selected all, and from north, north, south, east, and west. We have 41 candidates that we are so proud of. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together as we welcome one of our new bright offerings to you, the people of Tabaquite, to you, the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Marisha Alvarado, born and bred in Tabaquite, with a passion for education and committed to serving you, the people. Let us give her a P&M welcome.
Rolling with the red army. For the love of your country, place your vote with the P&M family. Go get ready.
What a opening. Greetings, P&M family. To the Honorable Prime Minister, Stuart Young, SC, to our political leader of the P&M, Dr. the Honorable Keith Christopher Rowley, to Member of Parliament for St. Joseph, around West St. Joseph, and we putting him back. To the Member of Parliament for Lopino Bonnet, we putting him back too. To all members of cabinet, members of parliament, heads of religious organization, members of council, former deputy political leader of P&M, Ms. Joan Yule Williams, to the media, to all listening on radio, and to those undecided young voters, I'm calling out to you. Good evening, good evening, good evening. P&M family, P&M family, P&M family. This evening, brothers and sisters, it is a privilege to stand here. It is a privilege to speak from my heart. There is an old spiritual adage that goes, when the roll is called up yonder, I'll be there. This evening, my brothers and sisters, I want to say on April the 28th, when the gates open at 6 a.m., I want you to join me and say, we will be there. We all in, P&M family. This evening, I stand before you as a product of solid P&M policy on youth engagement and development. Today, I am an educator, a mentor, a young woman with a deep, driving passion to serve the people of this nation under the astute leadership of Prime Minister Stuart Richard Young, SC. My brothers and sisters, we have arrived at a pivotal moment in our party's long-standing history, a moment that calls for deep reflection, renewal, and recommitment to the core values, principles, morals, and policies that have positioned Trinidad and Tobago as the true leader of the Caribbean, a shining light. It is at this juncture that we must look back through the corridors of time and be proud of what we have been able to accomplish under the legendary leadership of pioneers Dr. Eric Williams, George Chambers, Patrick Manning, and most recently, Dr. the Honorable Keith Christopher Rowley. It is also important for us to position our gaze forward to a new chapter where a myriad of opportunities lay in waiting to take this country higher and further. Daily, Young's army is growing, and it continues to grow, and it gives me a reminiscent feeling of my teenage days, growing up in the quiet village of Springvale, Claxton Bay, where the P&M would be passing through, and I would look outside and admire them, because they were a party of action, a party of vision, and a party that invests in youth development. The P&M remains a party that you can depend on. It remains a party that is the strongest, most resilient, most committed, and most dedicated political party in the Caribbean. The P&M has given us a story, a legacy of leadership and progress. When others flatline, the People's National Movement stands firm. When others stumble and fall, the People's National Movement progresses. When others hesitate, the People's National Movement takes decisive action. And when others fail, the People's National Movement continues to provide leadership, solutions, and empowerment for all. So this evening, I am indeed humbled to be among the new young faces that this great party has ushered into this new chapter. A new wave of young blood, a new wave of bright minds, a new wave of determined, dynamic PNM, ready to battle, ready to take this country forward. I urge each and every one of you, in particular young individuals who are listening on the radio and on the television, to consider the People's National Movement as a party that never fails, a party of solutions, a party of youth empowerment, a party that drives your success and your future. This evening, as we continue this new chapter under the stewardship of Prime Minister Stuart Young, SC, I call on the youths of Trinidad and Tobago to consider his leadership qualities. He is a man of action. He is a man of integrity. He has an unwavering commitment to all the people of Trinidad and Tobago. And make no mistake, he is no stranger to the demands of good quality leadership. He continues to serve with dignity and distinction, proving time and time again that he is prepared to make the tough decisions necessary for progress. So Trinidad and Tobago, ask yourself, what can you expect under this continued leadership? You can expect leadership that is sober, leadership that is focused, and leadership that powers you for empowerment. So supporters of this great party, we are called to take action, to continue the work, to strengthen the mission, and make no mistake, the work of the PNM continues after April 28th. It will continue. We will continue to strengthen the economy, to create more opportunities for the youth. We will continue investment in education, ensuring that the youths are at the heart of the nation. We will continue to ensure safety in every community.
Ladies and gentlemen, I ask you to kindly stand as we welcome to your constituency, St. Joseph, around West St. Joseph, our Prime Minister, the man who would be leading us to victory, who would be leading the charge of the PNM Army. Put your hands together as we welcome to your constituency none other than Stuart Richard Young, the Honorable Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago.
We used to carry it when it wrong, we used to carry it. We used to carry it when it wrong, we used to carry it. We used to carry it when Arima had it, Maturita had it, Santa Rosa had it, Donyaruka had it, in Mofa had it, in Sawa had it.
And ladies and gentlemen, just as I was saying, he came. He is a man of integrity, a man that is dynamic, a man that is dedicated, a man that is focused, and a man that has the heart of the youth of Trinidad and Tobago at bay. Let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, our Prime Minister cares. He is all in for all of TNT. He continues to champion a focused governance with accountability. And today, the party remains committed to youths of this nation, youth development, youth inclusion, providing sustainable, viable options for all. The PNM has consistently provided these channels and measures, and today I employ every youth to not sit by and let your future pass. Get informed, get out and vote. Be informed about the various policies, agendas geared towards your development. Do not be fooled by the naysayers who say your vote don't matter. I urge you, vote for a party that has driven youth advancement. Vote for a party that has allowed youth to speak and has allowed youth to have a voice. Vote for a party that propels you to a new height. To every young individual, I speak to you today as someone who once stood on the fence, unsure of life's path towards success. But I tell you this evening, the future is yours to build. It's just a touch away, but you have to take action, decisive, keen action. And to every PNM supporter, every undecided voter, everyone who resigned and want to come over, look at the leadership qualities before you and choose wisely. Because this election is not just about winning seats. It's about forming the government that will lead us into 2026 and beyond. It's about securing our future. And I say to every youth and every individual, you may think that this election does not interest you, but this general election 2025 has interest in you. Your future, your country, and its progress depends on you. So will you move with the people's national movement? Will you call out at 6 a.m. when you go out to vote? I will be there. Because together with the people's national movement, you can trust and know that we are all in for TNT. As I leave, I echo the call to come out, vote. Make sure that your voice is heard so that on election night, April the 28th, we will all exclaim, great is the PNM, great is the PNM, great is the PNM, and we have prevailed. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
What we have on offer for you, the people of Tabakit. Join me as we give this young woman a round of applause. A baby to the political hustings, a baby to politics. Trinidad and Tobago, you're big and you have sense. This is what we have at the People's National Movement. Honorable Prime Minister, on behalf of your foot soldiers again, we welcome you. Let us put our hands together for our Honorable Prime Minister. 41 strong candidates with all boots on the ground. 41 candidates, and we all know our song. And what is that song again? Great is the PNM. Great is the PNM. Great is the PNM. And we shall prevail. Brothers and sisters, and we shall prevail even in our fight against crime and criminality, because at the People's National Movement, we are all in. We are all in for Trinidad and Tobago. Ladies and gentlemen, the People's National Movement, as you may know, has taken an all-of-government approach to crime, recognizing that we all have a part to play. Ladies and gentlemen, as a party, we thank those parents and the family as an institution for taking steps to take back their children from the clutches of gangs, from the clutches of criminality. As a party, we thank those churches and those places of worship for being all in the fight against crime. Those who continue to open their doors to those youths who are at risk. We thank you because we recognize that equally you are all in. Ladies and gentlemen, the People's National Movement, in its fight against crime and believing that we must all be in order to fight crime, we recognize the work of the Ministry of Youth Development, because again, we know that this crime fighting mechanism requires us all being in. Ladies and gentlemen, Trinidad and Tobago, as a party, we recognize the role of the Ministry of Education has played, the role that the Ministry of Agriculture has played in encouraging our young people to leave that life of crime behind. Because again, in the People's National Movement, we recognize that in order to fight crime and criminality, we must all be in. So forever, ladies and gentlemen, we are finding resources, we are finding mechanisms to provide and to create an environment in which we can continue this fight against crime and criminality. Ladies and gentlemen, I strongly believe that together we can. Leading the charge in this ministry now, and I believe more so that we can do it, because leading the charge in this ministry is another, not fresh face to politics, but a man who is also young, a man who also has vision, and a man who is willing again to put his boots on the ground and get this fight done. Ladies and gentlemen, to fight crime, we require all, each and every one of you. And leading that charge, of course, is my political batch from the class of 2020. I ask you to put your hands together as we welcome that man who we will support, who we will put all our hands in and give him the support that he needs as we take back our country, as we take back our children from the clutches of those criminal entity. Put your hands together as we welcome to the political hosting my political brother and of course Aruka Lopino, your candidate, of course the Minister of National Security, the Honorable Marvin Gonzalez.
My friend, I in a good spirit. I drink in a good spirits. The vibes right up to the limits. So don't hold me down, don't fight me down. Good spirit. I drink in a good spirits. The vibes ain't causing.
Thank you very much, my political batch of 2020, Senator Renuka Sagram Sugla. Let's give her a round of applause. Indeed, my political batch. First time I heard the term, and I will always remember it. Beautiful people of the new constituency of St. Joseph, Aranguez or Aranguez St. Joseph, Aranguez St. Joseph. Let us welcome our newly appointed Prime Minister, the Honorable Stuart Young, to your beautiful constituency. My cabinet and parliamentary colleague, your member of parliament, my brother Terence Dial Singh, thank you for your warm and gracious welcome to your beautiful constituency. Members of parliament, members of the cabinet, I see members of the executive of this constituency, members of council, PNM family, PNM well-wishers, our matriarch in the party, Mrs. Joan Yule Williams, who is always in every party, in every single part of this country. Let us welcome her. Again, her welcome is always, and her presence rather, is always welcome in all our political battles and our political meetings all over Trinidad and Tobago. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, members of the media, and wherever you are listening to this beautiful broadcast here in St. Joseph, welcome again to the PNM family and this great political meeting as we start our political battle to return and to maintain good order and good governance in the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. But I also want to recognize and congratulate our good friend who your next member of parliament for Tabakit, Miss Marissa Alvarado. Good PNM stock, and she will be your next member of parliament because a couple days ago they called out 18 candidates and they left out the constituency of Tabakit. Poor Anita. She labored in the vineyard for the last 4 and 5 years. She has nowhere to go. She is not welcome in the UNC anymore. Perhaps we should welcome her in the PNM. Pick up your burden, come to the PNM and find political rest, because the UNC is now a place for criminals and vagabonds. You are no longer welcome in that political party, but as you take your exit out of the UNC, we will put a PNM candidate in the young person of Ms. Alvarado to represent your interests in the constituency of Tabakik. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank and first start by thanking the Honorable Prime Minister for reposing his trust and confidence in appointing me your Minister of National Security. I do recognize, Honorable Prime Minister, and you, PNM family, that this is a serious responsibility that has been placed upon my shoulder. And every single day that I live, with your encouragement and the encouragement of all of my colleagues in the cabinet of Trinidad and Tobago, and every good, upstanding citizen in Trinidad and Tobago, we will return law and order in every community in our beautiful country. Because you see, the criminal element, they are just a minor percentage of this population. This is a population of 1.4 million people, and we ought not to be held ransom by a group of vagabonds whose only alternative, despite our plans and programs that we would have put in place to give our young people a fighting chance, their only hope is to take a gun and run rampage on innocent citizens in this country. We deserve better. We will push back. We will fight back. Every single citizen under this government, we will push them. We will drive them out, because we deserve better in this country. We deserve better in this country. You go back to the history of the PNM, especially when we resumed government in 2015. Look at how much resources we would have given to all law enforcement agencies in this country. Look at the amount of legislation that we passed in Parliament to equip our law enforcement officials with the legislative capacity to prosecute crime and to prosecute criminals in this country. You would have seen time and time again, when we brought legislation in the Parliament, it was obstruction after obstruction after obstruction, because those opposed to us believe that the only way that they can re-enter the corridors of power in Trinidad and Tobago is to undermine every crime-fighting initiative that's been launched by this PNM government. Because they believe that if crime remains a front-burner problem in this country, you PNM people, you the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, will turn your backs on the PNM and put criminals back into power to deal with crime. It cannot happen, ladies and gentlemen. It ought not to happen, ladies and gentlemen. It ought not to happen. But as we stand believing that the capacity of our law enforcement agencies, despite the challenges, we will unite in battle with them. We will give them the support that they require. We will root out corruption in all our law enforcement agencies, because the vast majority of them, they want a safer Trinidad and Tobago. And we as PNM standard bearers, we will work with them. We will provide them with all of the resources, and we will push back against criminals in this country, because we deserve better. Ladies and gentlemen, Minister Hines has led this ministry for the last 4 years. It is not an easy chalice to drink from. He has been criticized over and over again, and he has not been recognized for the great work and the great public service that he has given to his constituency and to this country in the Ministry of National Security. He has been vilified. He has been criticized almost for every murder and every kidnapping in this country. But it is not an easy battle. Because as we sat in cabinet week after week, we provided him with the support, and we provided him with the resources, and we provided him with the moral support as he led a very difficult ministry. And today, here in St. Joseph, we want to say thank you, Minister Hines, and thanks to your family for your public service in Trinidad and Tobago. And we look forward to you continuing to work with us as we seek to return law and order in Trinidad and Tobago. Ladies and gentlemen, it was in December last year, the government, in another attempt to keep crime under control, a state of emergency was called in this country. You are aware of that? A state of emergency. It is an initiative and it is an intervention that no government would take pleasure to institute in any country to return law and order in our country. But we had to do it because of the information that was available to our law enforcement officials who came to us at the National Security Council and asked us to declare the state of emergency so that they can have the upper hand on the criminals. Today, ladies and gentlemen, I can tell you that since the calling of this state of emergency, despite what others may want to tell you, and despite our dissatisfaction with the level of crime in Trinidad and Tobago, we and the police service would have witnessed a 30% reduction in the murder rate in this country, and this ought to be commended. 30% reduction in our murder rate up to this point in time. Is it at a place where we are comfortable? Of course not, because one murder is too much. One murder is too much in this country. But a 30% reduction means that more lives we have to give a fighting chance to our young people so that they can turn away from their life of crime. The police also reported, ladies and gentlemen, that over 165 firearms were confiscated. You can just imagine what 165 firearms would have done to our young boys and our young girls in communities all over. This is 165 firearms that were confiscated and removed from our streets so that our police service can provide safety to our families, provide safety for our children, provide safety for our communities. 446 kilograms of marijuana was seized and persons prosecuted. 3.4 kilograms of cocaine removed and confiscated. 22,148 mobile patrols were instituted all over Trinidad and Tobago to give you a sense of safety in your communities. 1,473 patrols, foot patrols instituted, and 14,837 traffic operations instituted all over Trinidad and Tobago. And it is for that reason we would have seen an incremental reduction in criminal activity and a reduction in the murder rate in Trinidad and Tobago. But it is not at a place where we are satisfied. We believe that much more needs to be done to arrive at a place where we are satisfied, where all of our communities will feel that sense of safety wherever they are. That our schools can be a place of learning wherever you are in Trinidad and Tobago. Our hospitals and other public places will not be havens for criminals in Trinidad and Tobago. The work is a tall order. But if we, as Renuka would have said, regardless of wherever we are in this country, regardless of whatever community group that you're involved in, whether we are involved in our churches, whether we are involved in law enforcement, wherever we are, as parliamentarians, as elected members of parliament, putting our differences aside and doing what we must do, ladies and gentlemen, it is the only way in which we can return Trinidad and Tobago to a safe place. It is the only way. Ladies and gentlemen, shortly after our Prime Minister was appointed, he instructed me as the new Minister of National Security to call all of the heads of our law enforcement agencies at the Ministry of National Security and to get briefing from them. I summoned the head of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, the Chief of Defense Staff, the head of our prison service, the head of our intelligence gathering agencies, and they fully brought me up to speed where we are in our crime fighting efforts. And as we do that, the Honorable Prime Minister, as chair of the National Security Council, summoned all of the heads of our law enforcement agencies, including the commanding officer of the Trinidad and Tobago Coast Guard, the commanding officer of the regiment, the commanding officer of the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force Reserve, the head of our fire services, the chief of defense staff, the head of our intelligence agencies, and they reported to the National Security Council, the newly put together National Security Council, on where we are in our crime fighting efforts, because we understand what this is doing to our country, the damage it is doing to our economy, the damage it is doing to the psyche of our people. And they brought us up to speed with what they are doing, especially as we approach the end of our state of emergency. It was a very encouraging meeting. It was an eye-opener in some respects, but we took comfort that what they are doing, that they are on the right track. And we promise that we are going to provide them with the necessary resources so that they can continue to push back against crime in this country. You would be shocked to know that in our prisons, when we take some of the criminals off the streets, take them out and uproot them out of our communities, and we lock them up in the prison, many of the murders are called from inside the walls of the prison. Because many of the criminals are interacting and interfacing with criminals on the outside. And you have to ask yourself, when you confiscate drugs and you confiscate mobile phones in the morning, by the evening, they return to the prisons so that those criminals can continue wreaking havoc on our people. In this regard, we would have given the head of the prison service the undertaking that we will do everything possible to eradicate all of the illegal activities in our prison, so that when we lock up the murderers and we lock up the gun carriers, they will not order their hits on innocent citizens in Trinidad and Tobago. We will root out corruption, and we will root out the crime-fighting efforts that is buried in the bowels of our prison. Tonight here in St. Joseph, we want to call upon and we want to give the assurance to every single prison officer that we will provide you with all of the resources that you require to protect yourselves from all of the criminals inside and outside of the prison. And we will ensure that every gang leader and every criminal that is incarcerated in our prison will not use the prison to wreak havoc on us on the outside. To fight this criminal scourge in this country, the fight is not only on the streets, it is not only in the communities, it is not only in the highways, it is not only on the waters, it must be taken in the walls and within the walls of our prison. And that is the undertaking that we give here today. A very important decision that was taken at our National Security Council. At our National Security Council, they reported that 2 of our Cape-class vessels have finally returned to the waters of Trinidad and Tobago to protect our borders. Let us congratulate Minister Hines. Let us congratulate the leadership of the Ministry of National Security Let us congratulate and commend the efforts of the government of Trinidad and Tobago for doing everything that they were supposed to do to return 2 of our Cape Coast vessels to the waters of Trinidad and Tobago so that they and we can all be protected. And I give you the assurance that not too far from now, 3 new interceptors will also be on the waters of Trinidad and Tobago to secure our borders and the rest of the other vessels. Because, ladies and gentlemen, our waters, that is where the guns and the drugs are coming in, that is creating the problems in this country. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the things that have been reported to us is that our law enforcement entities and agencies in Trinidad and Tobago must not only enjoy the confidence of the people of Trinidad and Tobago, but they must enjoy the confidence of law enforcement agencies in the region and in the international organization. We cannot fight this battle here alone in this country, because for every murder and for every piece of narcotic that is imported in this country, there is some connection with some other country in South America, in Central America, or in North America. And if international law enforcement agencies do not have the confidence of our local law enforcement officials, they will not share the necessary information with them so that we can take action here in this country to protect the citizens. One of the great benefits coming out of the state of emergencies that has been reported to us at the National Security Council is that local law enforcement officials are now collaborating and coordinating with each other to share intelligence information. And they are reporting that as a result of that, they are seeing an improvement in the detection rate, an improvement in some of the crackdowns that we have been having and the success that we have been having. It is one of the great success coming out of the state of emergencies because they are not operating in silos anymore. They are working together. They are meeting on a weekly basis. They are sharing the necessary information. And that is the reason why we are seeing more success in our prisons and some of the operations that you are seeing taking place on land and on sea. But we have to do much more because our international law enforcement agencies must have the confidence that our local law enforcement officials have the capacity to receive intelligence information so that they can engage in operations on the streets and on the waters. I can tell you that over the next 3 months, when you re-elect the PNM into government on the 28th of April, we will ensure that our local law enforcement officials maintain the confidence of their regional and international partners so that they can receive information and initiate successful operations in this country. If our international partners do not believe in local law enforcement officials, they will not share pertinent information. This is a very serious matter, ladies and gentlemen. And I give you the assurance that as a government and as the new government, that we will do what we must so that our international partners will collaborate and coordinate with our local law enforcement agencies so that we can ramp up the efforts against crime and criminality in Trinidad and Tobago. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a very serious matter. We understand your control. We understand your concerns. We sympathize with many of our mothers and our fathers who have lost their children to crime. That despite our efforts to provide an alternative way of life under the Ministry of Youth Development, under the Ministry of Education, under the Ministry of Sports, that our young boys and young girls, too many of them, are resorting to a life of crime. And we will ensure in the Ministry of National Security that our local law enforcement agencies are equipped, they are resourced, so that we can push back against the criminals that are wreaking havoc in our country. But I want to tell you this, because this is an election, And if, God forbid, the people of this country put these other people who are posing as a political organization into office, do you think that our international partners will want to collaborate and share critical information with them? Can you imagine Anil Roberts as your next Minister of National Security? Can you imagine Khadija Double Palm Amin being your next Minister of National Security? Can you imagine Barry Parat as your next Minister of National Security? Can you imagine Kamla Prasad-Bissessar, who cannot get up before 1 p.m. after lunch, being your next Prime Minister? After 60-something years, the alternative to the People's National Movement continues to be chaos and confusion, ladies and gentlemen. And I want to give you the assurance that under the leadership of Prime Minister Stuart Young, as we head towards the end of this term, and under his leadership as we move to another term, the issue of crime and security will continue to be at our front burner. But you need to do one thing. Do not just give us 21 seats. Do not just give us 22 seats. We need a constitutional majority to go to the parliament and make the necessary changes. Change up the service commission. Change up the management of the police service. Change up the management of the defense force. Change up the management of all of the structures, the judiciary, because these are the changes that we need to make to return Trinidad and Tobago to a place of safety. Do not be fooled. But in order to do that, we can't do it with 21 seats. We can't do it with 22 seats. We can't do it with 23 seats. We need 26 and above to make the kind of changes that we need to make in Trinidad and Tobago. So tonight, as we draw the battle line, right here in RUNG West St. Joseph, we want to send a loud signal to the UNC and all of the PNM detractors that we are not fighting for 22 seats. We are not fighting to scrape through this election. We are fighting to ensure that we get a majority in the Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago to make the necessary changes in this country, deep as they are, painful as they might be, because that is what is required to straighten out this country once and for all. And with the leadership of the Honorable Stuart Young, the current Prime Minister, and the next Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, and all of the people of goodwill in this country, and our next returning members of Parliament, we will do what we must to ensure that Trinidad and Tobago is a safe space and a safe place for all of us, for our children to go to the park, for our children to go to school, for us to walk to our streets, to go to our malls, and to go to our shopping center. It is within our collective capacity, and it can only happen under the People's National Movement. Great is the PNM. Great is the PNM. Great is the PNM, and we shall and we must prevail.
My friend, I in a good spirit. I drink in a good spirits. Divides right up to
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Trinidad and Tobago, again, this is what we have on offer. Let us join together and give the Honorable Minister a round of applause. So the next time that the UNC comes to you with their crime-fighting strategy, I want you to tell them, take a spin, because you are all in, and we are all in with our Minister of National Security. You are all in with our Honorable Prime Minister in his fight against crime and criminality. Ladies and gentlemen, we are the People's National Movement. And as we speak about the opposition, brothers and sisters, let me ask you, do you all remember that during the opposition time, they played Wappy with the cabinet? You know what I mean by a game of Wappy? They're reshuffling and reshuffling the cabinet every Monday morning. Ladies and gentlemen, how can we, brothers and sisters, how can we rely upon these wappy players to take charge of our country? The opposition leader can't even take charge of the few members, the 16? The 18 members that she has. Will we put this party in charge of the affairs of Trinidad and Tobago? Ladies and gentlemen, if you forgot, 24 ministers fired under waves of corruption and scandal during the time of the opposition. Is that what we want for Trinidad and Tobago? So that is why I said when the UNC come and talking about crime, we tell them take a spin, because we all in, and we all in with the People's National Movement. And if you could not cure crime in your cabinet, how could you solve crime in Trinidad and Tobago? The maths not maths in Trinidad and Tobago. The maths just not maths in. So, brothers and sisters, we will all take social responsibility and we will do our part, and you will work with your leaders and those who have offered themselves to serve as we take back our country. And as we talk about those who have taken social responsibility, join me as I recognize another standard bearer for the People's National Movement in the form of Adam Hussein, who will be taking Caroni Central. And I understand he's here, but I'm not sure if he is here. Who will be taking Oropouche West? We have Mr. Sean Dubé, another standard bearer. Because, brothers and sisters, we require to have a majority in the parliament, and a man who has run the affairs of the parliament and who will take Tunapuna, don't matter who they pay and they buy out. He will take Tunapuna, of course, is my brother Esmond Ford. And Trinidad and Tobago, these are your PNM standard bearers. And as we talk about standard bearers, I now come to you, the beautiful people of RUNG West St. Joseph, and I recognize you as we get ready to welcome your own, of course, your next member of parliament. Trinidad and Tobago, and this is serious business now. Trinidad and Tobago, the opposition will make you believe that COVID-19 was not real. But ask those families who lost relatives to COVID-19. Their story will be very different. Ask the doctors and healthcare providers who were always all in defense of Trinidad and Tobago. They will tell you that COVID-19 was real. Brothers and sisters, our next speaker has always been all in protecting and leading the charge in the Ministry of Health. Ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker, focusing now on digitization and modernization of the healthcare system. The next speaker has fought to save lives. He has introduced policies at his ministry that deals with lifestyle diseases, that deals with mental health diseases. Ladies and gentlemen, a few weeks ago, the next speaker also broke the internet with some of his moves. And I understand that as the campaign evolves, he has some more moves to unleash on us. But he has already been moving the Ministry of Health. I ask you, brothers and sisters of this most wonderful constituency, the man who will give them licks after licks after licks, put your hands together as we welcome to the political hustings. RUNG West people, let me hear you. St. Joseph people, let me hear you. The man who will beat them left, right, and center, and who will bounce his way to victory. Put your hands together as we welcome the Honorable Terence Dialsing.
We love you so, we take good care.
Though I walk through the valley of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Ladies and gentlemen, when we met here in 2020, COVID was an issue. There's an iconic photograph with me. This podium was there. Dr. Keith Rowley was sitting there. And I was pointing to him, and I told the country, I want this man to lead us through COVID and to lead us through 2020, 2025. And so he did. Tonight, I recreate that moment because we are not fighting a virus, but the world has become a more complex place. Geopolitics has changed the global dynamic. The threats come from everywhere. And I want this man to lead us through this new world order. This man, the Honorable Stuart Young, SC, the current Prime Minister and the next Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. My friends of St. Joseph, around West St. Joseph, my phenomenal people, I want to stop calling you all constituents. You know why? Because after 12 years, I don't see you as constituents. I have been to your funerals. I have been to your weddings. I have been to your christenings. I consider you friends. And tonight is one of the first occasions in a general election. We are fighting this election without Dion. Dion might mean anything to anybody outside of this constituency. But if you are from Aranguez and St. Joseph, Dion means the world to us. So you are not my constituents. You are my dear friends. You are my colleagues. You are my champions. And I have had the honor and privilege to have gotten to know you over the past 12 years. So I recognize the Honorable Prime Minister. I recognize my colleague. I recognize the new candidates all. I can't do the job Renuka does, so I will just say all protocols observed. Tonight, as you write a new chapter with a new leader, but the party's principles remain the same. In my time as an MP and as a Minister of Health, I have worked tirelessly in both jobs. And key to those both jobs, my mantra has always been human development. That has been my singular and only objective. How can I develop the human resource of Trinidad and Tobago? Our story is a story of continuing progress. And we must continue from 2025 to 2030. From Aranguez to Cayman to Curup to Ramgooly Trace, my brother. The reason why he is so excited about Ramgooly Trace, when I was walking there for the local government election, they say, MP, we've had no water for 20 years. I pick up before what I called Marvin one time. Within days, pipe man, pipe lay. That is man. Dog Alley, Hope Place, Mount Dor, Chamflair, Mike Tower, Mount Dor, Mount Lambert, Quarry Drive, Quarry Road, Bamboo number 1. All these are areas near and dear to me. My mandate has always been and will always be to answer the needs of you, my people, as both an MP and Minister of Health. We were all in during COVID. We were all in. When we got $127 million to pay out to healthcare workers. All in difficult times. We were all in with hospitals. We were all in COVID. We were all in for public officers. And we were all in from keeping you away from the IMF. Because when you listen to the UNC, we will do this, we will do that, but they can never tell you where the money coming from. It was those same people in 2010 who say old age pension will go up to $3,500. Then when they get into power, what they say? Ernie Ross make a mistake in the manifesto. You remember that? Remember the Calypso? Lie. You hear lie? That is lie. But friends, let me get serious about my stewardship, because I have two documents tonight. One, Ministry of Finance and the Economy Investments Division, Central Audit Committee. Final report of the Central Audit Committee on the comprehensive audit of the payment system of the Life Sport Program, July 25th, 2014. The other document I have is a document which spells out my stewardship in the Ministry of Health for the past 10 years, where I spent $11.4 billion on infrastructural projects that you can see, you can touch, you can feel, you can go in to get health care. Have you heard my name called in any scandal in $11.4 billion? I'll come into that now. When we built my Tower Community Center for $13 million, when we built Cayman Community Center for $13 million, that's $26 million. But what is important about those community centers is not the building. It is what happens inside the building. I was in my tower today, and in my tower today, the children are learning ICT. I want the children of my tower, the children of Cayman, the children north of the Eastern Main Road to have the same access to cutting-edge technology as any part of the world. And I'll give you a story. You know the name Bill Gates? Bill Gates wasn't born Bill Gates, the billionaire. He was born Bill Gates, yes. But in 1968, his parents in a church group had a garage sale, and they collected money. You know what they did with that money? In those days, computers weren't like what they are now, you know. They bought a computer. They bought a computer and put it in a place where you had to go on block time and pay for time to use the computer. Bill Gates had access to that computer and became Bill Gates, the billionaire. Why can't our children in my tower, in Cayman, in Quarry, not only be users of content, but creators of content? Why can't they do that? Why can't they aspire to be that? That is what we have brought. That is what we have brought. But you can see it, you can smell it, you can touch it. And I want to tell everybody who appears on a UNC platform, you feel you have done the time. You feel you have spent 10 years in opposition and you have done the time. And now we must forget the crime. I want to tell you tonight, we will not forget the crime. Because on page 17 of that report, and I quote, eBeam Interact Limited, a payment of $34 million was made to eBeam Interact, although no services were rendered, and the external attorneys suggested that the matter should be contested. On page 18 of that report, and as Reduka say, if you couldn't solve crime in your cabinet, you think you could solve crime on the road? This is crime in the cabinet of Trinidad and Tobago. It goes on. In the absence of proper procurement practices, I had to hear David Tanku talk last night about procurement. in the absence of proper procurement practices, overpayment for goods and services, and possible criminal activities, ranging from fraud to theft and possible breaches of the Proceeds of Crime Act, suggests there may be criminal elements in positions of supervision and coordination. That is what every speaker who sat with Kamla Persad-Visessa in La Jolla last night are telling you. We did the time, forget the crime, but we must give them 5 more years' time in opposition. We will not forget the crime. Yea, though I walk through the valley of death, for all of those who know the Bible on that platform last night, for all of them who think they know the Bible, for all of them who preach the Bible for years, are they going to forget this? Are you going to appear on a platform? Are you going to appear on a platform and condone this? $34 million. Let me tell you something. I told you I have another document here. My stewardship as Minister of Health. 1 vial of chemotherapy drugs costs $13,800. With that $34 million paid to E-beam, you could have bought 2,463 vials of chemotherapy drugs for the people of Trinidad and Tobago. You could have bought that. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil. The $11.4 billion you truly spent with no scandal, you could have bought, with that $34 million, 3,352 vials of chemotherapy drugs. And I must listen to people in La Jolla, St. Joseph last night tell you, we have done the time, it's we time now. We must tell them, you have done the crime, but your time ain't finished. Your time ain't finished. You must spend 5 more years. But going on, what have we done? What has my stewardship been like in St. Joseph? My colleague, when he was Minister of Public Utilities, we put down the booster pump in Champlain to give people of Quarry Drive and Upper Champlain good water. We did that. We did that. But tonight, as we move forward, I want to thank the people of this constituency for their patience. And your patience has been rewarded. When we came into office, money was scarce. And some projects had to be put on hold because we had to maintain old age pension to 110,000 people who rely on that every month. We had to prioritize healthcare. We had to prioritize free education. We had to prioritize subsidized water, subsidized electricity. So some projects had to go on hold. But tonight I can tell you that Cabinet recently approved the restart of the Mount Hope Secondary School. You are going to get your Mount Hope Secondary School. MTS will be going out for tender very soon, and I thank you for your patience. Yesterday, I asked the incoming Prime Minister, I said, Prime Minister, I want to announce tonight the St. Joseph Secondary School. He said, go ahead. So tonight, we announce that the next PNM government will restart the St. Joseph Secondary School because you deserve it. Our children deserve it because our priorities have now changed. I also want to say tonight to my constituents of Mount Dore, your community center has been closed. UDCOT will be starting work there within 2 weeks, and you will be joining my tower. You will be joining Cayman in having a modern ICT access center. Do you know what is happening? Yes. Do you know what is happening in my tower with our children who could be the next Bill Gates? I was there today. This flyer is up there. This is what my tower children are now doing with this ICT access. Join our WhatsApp channel and stay connected. 3 easy steps. This is my tower people. You didn't have to have a garage sale like Bill Gates' mother and father to buy a computer for you. The government put it there. This PNM government put it there. So as part of my 2025-2030 master plan, we will continue to focus on St. Joseph, human development, and these are some of the new projects going. So I ask you, I plead with you tonight, that the constituency of RUNG West St. Joseph, we are all in. I ask you tonight, are you all in? Are you all in? I ask you for your continued support. I say to you tonight, we are red and ready in St. Joseph. We are red and ready in Quarry. We are red and ready in my tower. We are red and ready in RUNG West. And let me not forget infrastructural work in RUNG West. I don't want you to think that RUNG West is out of my sight. We have finished so much infrastructural work in RUNG West. Paving of Sundar Singh Road, Palm Drive East, Odai East Access Bridge, completed, done, and dusted. The yearly dredging of the RUNG West River to minimize flooding. So every part of this constituency, regardless of how you vote, you get my attention because equity deserves, we put resources where resources are needed. That is what equity means. I don't see yellow, I don't see red, I see people. I have walked the streets of this constituency. I know what your issues are. And I am saying to you, if you are red and ready, if you are all in, say with me on the night of April the 28th, when we are all in, we will say, great is the PNM, great is the PNM, great is the PNM, and we shall prevail. And
you could do better than that. And I want you to make this your mantra. When the UNC come, you tell them what? You tell them make a spin because you're all in. RUNG West, are you all in? St. Joseph, are you all in? And when that election day come, we are going to ensure that we take back RUNG West St. Joseph. Give your next member of parliament a round of applause. And I am seeing one of my sisters from the Women's League because I know she is going to do her part to ensure that she mobilizes all of the women in this constituency to support my big brother Terry. Let us recognize, of course, Miss Sharon Felix, the Lady Vice Chair of this wonderful constituency. And as we speak of power, women in power, because not all women in power, good, eh? Just understand that. But as we speak of women of power, allow me to recognize Auntie Irene and her entire team, the operations team of the People's National Movement. It is only in a meeting like this you can see order. There is no chaos. There is no confusion. And certainly there is... I will leave that alone. Ladies and gentlemen, as we go to a lighter side of tonight's meeting, I ask you to put your hands together as we welcome a man who is no stranger to us here at the People's National Movement, a man who I will also call a PNM man. Put your hands together as we welcome to entertain us, Peter C. Lewis.
Oh, 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 hey. Oh, na, na, na. Red and ready, here we all. Yeah. Red and ready, here we all. Know the Red Army. Red and ready, here
Where the Red Army tonight? Hold on. PNM people, put your hands in the air. Are you ready now? Trinidad and Tobago. Hey, listen.
Calling the Red Army, calling out all of we friends and family with love for TNT. From the mountain top to the valley low, everywhere we go, country before party. PNM, we working together, we building together, so we'll make it better. PNM, side by side, together, we standing together for our nation's future. This is the movement, we all in together, not just for one. My sister, my brother, Balizi, in your
Where the bodies here, people? With them, everybody say, come say, we all in.
We all in, enemy on the road again. We all in, every creed and every race. We all in, together, no time to waste. We all in, Frederick Street to Boko Reef. We all in, Balizi is moving
them people around West St. Joseph, if you're ready, say PNM.
PNM we need again.
Hey.
We all in, taking it to the streets, wherever we meet. We talking to everyone all over the country. The message is loud and clear. We want you to volunteer, spreading the word. Country before party. PNM, sun or rain together.
All the people who go and vote, I want to make sure that you vote. I want to see your finger. Show me your voting finger. Show me your voting finger. You know why? We all in together.
Working together, we all in the line. Let's do this together. Your future
This is the future we're talking about. Are you ready? Tell them we all in.
blood flowing through we veins.
Say we all in.
Enemy on the road again.
We all in.
Every creed and every race.
We all in.
Together, no time to waste. We all in. From Frederick Street to Boko Reef. We all in. The Balizi is what we need. We all in. Tell them this is a plan. We all in.
The PNM we need again.
We all in. Ready, ready, here we all in.
Everybody, let me see your hands like this. If you're ready, say. Ready, say we all in.
We all in. We all in. We working together. We building together. Thought we'll make things better. Side by side, we standing for our nation's future. This is the moment we all in together. Not just for one.
My sister, my brother, in your hand, PNM is the plan. Ready and ready, steady. Cause we all in. Family. We all in.
Enemy on the road again. We all in. Every creed and every race. We all in. Together, no time to waste. We all in. From Frederick Street to Boko Reef. We all in. The Balizi is what we need. We all in. Tell them this is a plan. We all in.
The Balizi
we need again. We all in.
Say we all in. We all in. Say we all in. We all in. We all in. Everybody come on after me. Listen. Say PNM. Watch me. You see all the people outside? Low. Listen. Crowds don't win election. On election day, I'm begging each and every one of you, please go out and vote. Go out and vote. Go out and vote. And then we will tell them, we all in.
Put your hands together, Peter C. Lewis, we're all in. We could do better than that, PNM family, because we are all in. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a moment that I have been waiting for. It's my first opportunity to welcome the next speaker, of course, now as the Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. But before I do that, brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, members of the People's National Movement, and to you, the citizens of our great, our beautiful twin island. Tonight we stand at a dawn of a new chapter, a new era of leadership for our party, and above all, brothers and sisters, for our nation. The People's National Movement has always been rooted in vision, in resilience, and an unwavering commitment to all the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Brothers and sisters, Trinidad and Tobago, at the heart of every strong institution is a commitment to continuity, the nurturing of leadership, and to prepare the next generation to take the mantle forward. Those are the principles that the People's National Movement has always been built upon. Trinidad and Tobago, my brothers and sisters, we welcome now a leader who has always been all in for Trinidad and Tobago. Trinidad and Tobago, to the young people of this country, as we turn a new chapter and we begin a new chapter in PNM history, I introduce to you a man of integrity. I introduce to you a man of action and intelligence, a son of the soil who has served at the highest levels of governance, a man who has served with distinction Trinidad and Tobago. His tenure in public life has been marked by dedication, decisiveness, and an unrelenting pursuit for what is right, for Trinidad and Tobago. Brothers and sisters, this new chapter for Trinidad and Tobago is a new chapter not only for the PNM, but is a new chapter for every boy and every girl of every creed and of every race that live in Trinidad and Tobago. The story of our next speaker is a testimony to the greatness of the People's National Movement. The story of the next speaker is a story which will show and prove that that little young Chinese East Indian boy of Trinidad and Tobago, to that little Syrian boy or girl in Trinidad and Tobago, to of course that little African boy of Trinidad and Tobago, that little East Indian girl or boy of Trinidad and Tobago, that they can dare to dream. Because that is what the People's National Movement is built on. Brothers and sisters, we are a people of all the people, for the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Do you agree with me? It is only in the People's National Movement that every creed and every race will find an equal place. Do you agree with me, brothers and sisters? Our next speaker is a man who is very young, but he is also very strong. The next speaker, we are all prepared like his loyal soldiers to walk with him, to work with him as he lead the charge and as he lead us into victory. Trinidad and Tobago, I ask you to put your hands together as we welcome the man who will be leading us to victory in that election, our honorable Prime Minister, a man of integrity, a man that we are all so proud of, the next Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, the current Prime Minister, the Honorable Stuart Richard Young.
I come from when Rung used to carry it. We used to carry it when it Rung used to carry it. We used to carry it when it Rung used to carry it. We used to carry it when it Rung used to carry it. We used to carry it when Arima had it, Maturita had it, Santa Rosa had it, Donyaruka had it, in Mova had it, in Sawa.
Good night, good night. Good night, to Arangwe St. Joseph. Good night to our PNM family in Trinidad and Tobago. Good night to all of the citizens who want to join a movement that will do what is right for Trinidad and Tobago as we unify and write a new chapter. You are welcome to join us. I'd like to start my contribution tonight. My first contribution to a PNM public meeting in a general election as the 8th Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago in Arangwe St. Joseph. A constituency that I walked along with many hundreds yesterday to get a good feel and idea for Arangwe St. Joseph. Allow me to start by welcoming the newest member to the Cabinet of Trinidad and Tobago that I lead, Minister Vishnu Dan Paul, our new Minister of Finance. To my other Cabinet colleagues present, the Honorable Terence Dial Singh, Minister of Health, the Honorable Marvin Gonzalez, our newly minted Minister of National Security, our wonderful Minister in the Ministry of the Attorney General and Legal Affairs, Minister Renuka Sagram Singh Suklal, and sitting in front with us, our Minister of Social Development and Family Services, the Honorable Donna Cox. Outside was our Minister of Works and Transport, our Deputy Political Leader, the Honorable Rohan Sinanan. To all our party officers and members who are here, including Auntie Joan, and to all of our candidates who have selflessly put themselves forward on offer in 41 constituencies of Trinidad and Tobago, so that every citizen who can vote has the opportunity to vote for the People's National Movement. I will ask that all candidates who are here present this evening stand so the public can see you. Trinidad and Tobago take a very, very close look, because it is only the People's National Movement that can, within time, without controversy, and in a proper manner following our Constitution, present on a date well in advance of nomination date, 41 candidates in Trinidad and Tobago. And you look at the quality of the candidates who have offered themselves to serve Trinidad and Tobago. And tonight I want to congratulate a young lady who presented herself not too long ago to the People's National Movement, and who I was proud to hear tonight in her debut speech to the population of Trinidad and Tobago in red and in PNM style, young Marisha Alvarado for Tabakit. And I am proud to stand here as the chairman of the People's National Movement, as the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, and to tell the population, these are the quality citizens that the People's National Movement attracts. Marisha came forward on the last possible day we had for screening of Tabakit. And with her, we found a tremendous candidate and one of the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. Tonight on this platform alone, you have seen the quality of what the People's National Movement has to offer. My friends, my family, my fellow citizens, we have some important decisions to make on April 28th. Some very, very important decisions. The first decision every citizen who has the right to vote in Trinidad and Tobago has to make when you wake up on the 28th of April, because that's the day that counts. The first decision you have to make is to go and vote. Let us not take that for granted. Let us not take that for granted. So tonight, I start off by asking every citizen who cares about Trinidad and Tobago to go out and vote on the 28th of April. Don't stay home. Don't take anything for granted and say, well, I'm not voting. Because you see, in the past, some have made that mistake. And you led Trinidad and Tobago to the brink where we were almost destroyed. So for the future of our children, for the future of our country, for the future of the small ones that are here amongst us, the small ones that you've left at home, the small ones who must carry us forward, this is for them. So on the 28th of April, the first decision I ask for every citizen interested in Trinidad and Tobago, who wants to build Trinidad and Tobago, who wants to unify Trinidad and Tobago, who wants to write a new chapter for Trinidad and Tobago on a strong foundation, go out and vote. There are young people amongst us that ask the right questions. Young people in that category of 18 to 25 who may be disillusioned. They're asking, well, why should I vote? They're asking, but all politicians are the same. But the People's National Movement has presented 41 candidates that are not the same. We have shown in the last 10 years in building a strong foundation why we are the right choice. So to those young people and to those persons who are thinking of not voting, over the next 4 weeks, listen carefully to the compelling arguments, the sane and sober arguments, the sane and sober advocacy to you as to why the first thing you need to do on the 28th of April, Monday the 28th of April, is to go out and vote. Because every single vote counts. The second decision you have to make as you go to that voting booth is you have to decide who to vote for. You have to take a conscious decision as to what you are going to cast. Your constitutionally protected vote for which party. And that is a serious decision, because that decision that we all take is going to decide the course of the future of Trinidad and Tobago. I am asking every citizen who wants a stable, caring, listening, strong, respected, experienced government to build Trinidad and Tobago and to unify us in Trinidad and Tobago and to write a new chapter for Trinidad and Tobago, to vote for the People's National Movement. Vote for Terence Dialsing in Arangwe, St. Joseph. Vote for Marvin Gonzalez in Aruca Lopino. Vote for Marisha Alvarado in Tabaquite. Vote for Renuka Sagram Singh Suklal in St. Augustine. Vote for me as your Prime Minister in Port of Spain North, St. Anne's West. Vote for Hans Devines for Diego Martin West. Vote for young Kareem Marcel in Laventille West. Vote for our other young candidates, Sean and Lena and all others, Adam, in the various constituencies. But listen to what you're voting for when you vote for the People's National Movement. You're voting for a government that cares. Don't listen to them saying we don't care. Because in caring, sometimes you have to take the hard decisions. But what we are going to do is to ensure that the limited and the growing resources go firstly to those who require it the most. Vote for a government that has the experience. Vote for a government that has proved itself. A government that has a Minister of Finance who has served in the Ministry of Finance at the highest levels longer than any Minister of Finance in Trinidad and Tobago, supporting many Ministers of Finance. Think about it. The Minister of Finance, the current one, has served under different governments, has served under different parties, and he still offered himself to service, offered himself to come back in Trinidad and Tobago, knowing the responsibility of carrying the Ministry of Finance over the next few years. And when you can attract quality people, the candidates that we have put forward, it says something. So come out and vote on the 28th for the People's National Movement. Under my leadership, I have made a call for unification, and I'm going to continue that call. I am making a call for inclusion. It is something that I will ensure that we do. I'm calling for all of us to work together. And that is why you have so many decent citizens, so many citizens who want what is better for Trinidad and Tobago, coming forward and willing to support the People's National Movement. But it is incumbent upon us, it's important for us, the members of the People's National Movement, to ensure that we come out and vote, because there are many who have never voted for us before that are pledging to come out and vote. And if we do that, and when we do that, we will be able to do what Marvin has asked for and get the requisite number of seats in the Parliament to form the next government. Under me, in the last few weeks and even before, under my leadership as the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, you would have seen that very consciously and strategically, I have immediately started to meet with important stakeholders. Meeting with people to listen. Meeting with people to decide how I am going to steer the ship of Trinidad and Tobago forward. Meeting with people, as you will see happening as I continue to go forward. Because I need to understand, and my government needs to understand, what are the things that need change and focus. Because we understand after 10 years of a strong foundation that we are about to write a new chapter. So the first thing I did was focus on education, because that is P&M policy. It is the People's National Movement that gave free education. But we recognize, and I recognize, that we need to change things in our education system and many other things that have remained as status quo for too long. So the first thing I did with the Minister of Education is ask the religious leaders of the denominational boards of the various schools across the country to come and meet with us, for me to understand what they think needs to change, for me to understand and also to get a commitment from them to work with this government to take the education system where it needs to go in a modern day. You also heard me say at the first post-cabinet press conference I held as the Prime Minister that the issue of foreign exchange and availability of foreign exchange is something that we are going to tackle. There is no easy solution. We have a lower foreign exchange. Ironically, I heard someone on a platform right here in RUNG, where St. Joseph, it's reported last night, talking about how is P&M that reduced the foreign exchanges in this country. The irony and the hypocrisy of that individual who almost single-handedly sunk where we earn foreign exchange from the energy sector. Do not forget that. that is an individual who could not negotiate more than one contract in energy. And the one contract they negotiated in 5 years continues to cost us billions of dollars in losses. Trinidad and Tobago, these are serious times. These are the things you need to consider when making that decision to come out and vote and to vote for us. So we tackle the foreign exchange. You saw the Minister of Finance and the Minister in the Ministry of Finance, Brian Manning and myself, meet with the Central Bank, the Bankers Association, and all of the heads of the banks to tell them that we need to find a way for the average citizen to get that priority access to foreign exchange. That when they walk into the bank and they ask for that money to go on their vacation, to see their grandchildren, to send for their children wherever they may be, to pay for medicine, etc., they have to be given an allocation and a first priority. We also, in that meeting, took on the conversation about bank charges and fees, because we all know about bank charges and fees. So when you hear this stupid talk from those on the other side, trying to say that your prime minister is somebody who is fighting for the big business, it is actions, it is not words. And I have no fear that you will make the right decision. Because you see, I have been walking for the last 10, 11 years. I have been walking, and I do not have a fear to walk anywhere in Trinidad and Tobago. So I've been walking throughout Trinidad in the past few months, and I'm heading to Tobago to walk. And that is to meet our citizens on their doorstep. That is to meet our citizens, as I did in Ikwese yesterday, waiting after school and work to get transport to go home. And you know why that is important for me? Because it allows me to understand firsthand what are some of the issues taking place, and not to depend on people who will send a report upwards and maybe manipulate the report so you don't properly understand. So you think about it. You have a choice in a leader who is going to walk all over Trinidad and Tobago, meeting the people on their doorstep. And I look in the crowd and I see many who walk with me, many who walked yesterday, many who walked in the week before, and I'm asking you to join me as I continue to walk. Because you have a leader who could walk after a full day's work. You have a leader who could come off a plane at midnight, having dealt with state issues, having dealt with the Secretary of State in Jamaica, come off a plane close to midnight, go home, shower and sit down and do cabinet notes till 3 o'clock in the morning, go and lead a cabinet, go and report to the population with a post-cabinet, and then put on my walking shoes, my red shirt, and go and meet the people. So I ask all those who want to come and fight me for leadership of Trinidad and Tobago, can you do that? Can she do that? Can they do that? You have a leader who not standing up with their phone like this. Nye, 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 nye. You have a leader who not standing up telling lies on a post. Trinidad and Tobago, those are the choices that we have to make. I, Stuart Richard Young. I, Stuart Richard Young, am here to serve the people of Trinidad and Tobago. I, Stuart Richard Young, give you the commitment that I will fight for Trinidad and Tobago. And I have shown over the last few years that I am fearless in my fight for Trinidad and Tobago. Because you see, I am not intimidated by anyone. I am not intimidated by the big oil and gas companies that want to take our resources. And you have seen under the tenure of my predecessor, and I'd like to thank him tonight, Dr. Rowley. Thank Dr. Rowley. You have seen under his tenure, with my support and me going to the front line, what we've done in the energy sector. And people may say, well, how is that affecting me? It is the money from the energy sector that built the community center. It's the money from the energy sector that keeps the lights on. It is the money from the education, from the energy sector that pays for the education for that little girl right there. It is the money. I come into the pensions tonight because they're lying about that too. So citizens, I present myself here to you as the 8th Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, asking that you continue to keep a PNM government in power on the 28th. And I have given you my commitment that I will work and I will fight for Trinidad and Tobago. This didn't start overnight. I got in frontline politics 11 years ago as a temporary opposition senator. And I don't think people understand that, you know. Because when you're in opposition, the only thing you could have is 6 opposition senators. And when you decide to stand up out of a good profession, whatever you may be, you leave your job and present yourself, you know that you're putting yourself on the line. So 11 years ago, when I presented myself with pride, and I thank you, the PNM, for taking me and welcoming me and giving me the opportunities to have the experience I have today, to be where I am, to work for you, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, I had already been fighting. Because anybody who knows what I did as a lawyer, I fought for the unions. I fought for the unions of Trinidad and Tobago for better conditions for the workers. But you see, I am not one that has ever boasted about what I do. That is not in my nature. But I took to the courts to fight for the unions. Go and ask the steel workers. If Ansel Roger would tell the truth, which may be difficult, Ansel Roger would tell Trinidad and Tobago that when Kamla Prasad Bissessar wanted to bust his throat as the PG of OWTU, I did the matter for him. When I fought the cases for the CWU and for the steel workers and other unions, I fought because I believed in the workers' rights. I remember with great pride going into court on a Friday night to fight senior counsel for the company, and senior counsel earning over $1 million fee on brief, and junior counsel earning $1 million, and the instructing attorney is another $1 million. And you know, me and my junior, when the union said, we can't pay you $15,000, we need to have a barbecue, you know what we said? You're mad or what? I enjoy the fight. And that is what I did for them. And that is what I did for the workers. When I walked Trinidad and Tobago, as I did in Arangwe, St. Joseph yesterday, there are workers who are part of the CWU. As I met at his gate yesterday, who called me and said, comrade, I from the CWU. And I remember when you took TSTT Wicket and you got all of us workers at a cost of $300 million plus. I won that case for the workers. And my argument in the court was, well, if the executives at the top could get bonus and they could get this and they could get that, the workers deserve what the workers deserve. So I fought many cases as a lawyer for persons who couldn't afford a lawyer, for persons who were the subject of domestic violence, medical negligence, and other matters. I only tell this story today so you will get a better understanding of the person who is offering himself to serve you. Because you see, every citizen has to choose who you want to lead Trinidad and Tobago. You need to decide if you want a fighter, someone who will work to build Trinidad and Tobago, someone who will fight for more money for our children in Trinidad and Tobago, take on the fight and the revenue fight with the oil and gas companies as I did. Someone who is young, someone who is energetic, someone who is patriotic, someone who is willing to engage and to listen and to then formulate policy for all. Or you could choose someone who cannot meet you, someone who can't come on the ground and walk, someone who can't tell you her plans, someone who doesn't understand the energy sector, because you would recall in a budget debate, did not even know the shareholding of Atlantic LNG, which is one of the most important institutions and companies in our energy sector, and someone who has already shown us how 5 years under the UNC could almost destroy a country. That is the choice that you have to make. That is the choice you have to make as to whether there will be allegations that $16 billion in cash go missing from the NGC, as opposed to someone. I am proud to stand before you tonight and tell you, because of the battles that I fought with the support of my predecessor, Dr. Rowley, and my cabinet colleagues, was able to get for Trinidad and Tobago $19 billion that we would not have gotten if I didn't take on that fight. So you have one who take 14, you have one who bring 19. It was yesterday. Yesterday I was walking in a RUNG where St. Joseph with your Member of Parliament, Minister Dial Singh. And I met a young man right there in his home at the gate. He's a UE student. And he said, tell me why I should vote. He said, I don't feel to vote. He said, there is no reason for me to vote. And I stood up right there at his gate and took the time to explain to this young man why he needs to vote, and that we understand the difficulties for the youth. And that is why we have a ministry under Minister Cummings for youth development and national service. And we have our Ministry of Education and others. But you see, I appreciate and understand there's a whole set of young people we've spent a lot of money on training, and they're young professionals who are having difficulty getting jobs. And I understand that because I am able to go everywhere and talk to people. And I engaged that young man. And by the time I told him why it was important for him to vote, the same way I'm asking you tonight, the conversation ended with him saying, I'm convinced I'll go and vote. And I had one ask of him. Ask of him. I said, when you go to school at UE, talk to your fellow students and encourage them to vote as well. There was another one as we walked along the roadway that stopped me. Minister Dial Singh was with me. A young man, he said, I've left the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force. I've decided to become an actor. I'm becoming an actor in England. And I don't think there's enough for us here in Trinidad and Tobago. And I want a house, and I need this, and I've never voted. Tell me why I must vote. Tonight, Trinidad and Tobago, and that young man, I want to unveil another one of my plans for Trinidad and Tobago. Tonight, right here in RUNG, where St. Joseph, I have taken a decision to tell Trinidad and Tobago, through you, one of the plans for the government that is going to be there under the People's National Movement on the 29th of April. I intend to establish a council of young, artists, entertainers, writers, and cultural leaders to bring their experience, their vision, their passion, their talent, their patriotism to help the PNM government under me to develop the art and culture sector for us as part of diversification. Because we have tremendous talent, and you see, if we harness that, we have a carnival, we have our steel band, we have our parties, we have that whole entertainment industry, we have artists that are unlike any in the world. I intend to harness that, to work with them, to form a council, and I'm going to establish the Art and Cultural Innovation Council to work with us, to bring their innovative ideas, because they're exporting it. Trinidad and Tobago exports our carnival. It starts in Toronto, in Notting Hill, in Miami, all throughout the islands. We need to find a way for our young, talented people, because not everybody is an academic, to find a way to turn that into hundreds of millions of dollars of foreign exchange. And these are the plans that I can present to you and will be presenting to you. I don't need to stand up in a hall and say, I don't have time tonight to tell you a plan. I don't need to tell you, well, let me talk about that another time. I could go anywhere, engage anyone, and have a sensible conversation at any hour of the day or night. So look forward to it. We are going to establish an Art and Cultural Innovation Council for that whole new movement of young people who know how to monetize this industry. And you have a government that's going to be committed to that as part of our diversification plan. Don't underestimate it and the amount of money it can earn, but also offering hope to young people who are interested in our arts, culture, and entertainment. Another issue I'd like to spend some time tonight addressing, and it's unfortunate, but it's necessary. There's a very important issue that affects our senior citizens. It is an issue that, unfortunately, those who would like to lead Trinidad and Tobago are once again trying to mislead our senior citizens about. This is a matter of pensions. This is a matter of our pensions that we have, our senior citizen pension in Trinidad and Tobago. You saw yesterday at post-cabinet press conference, I had to come back and deal with this lie that the opposition were telling that we were registering Venezuelans to vote, and how easily I was able to put that to rest because it's a lie. Well, I am standing here tonight as the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, and as someone who intends to lead this government on the 29th of April for another term as Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. And I am telling the population, especially our senior citizens, we are not interfering with your pensions. We are not going to change your pensions. Your pensions are safe under the People's National Movement. So don't let people who are desperate to get their hands on the money in the treasury introduce fear into our senior citizens. I am telling you here tonight, as the Prime Minister, we are not touching your pensions and your senior citizens' pensions. You all remember in 2023, UNC just introduced a concept. We're going to introduce the PNM inheritance tax. And they just start to put ads up everywhere. PNM going to have inheritance tax. There's another lie. We never had any plan to introduce inheritance tax, and we are not interfering with your pensions. We are not introducing new requirements that if you have X amount in your bank account, you can't get your pension. In fact, let me tell you something about the UNC. Under them, they didn't increase the pensions for you. But this PNM government increased pensions from 4,500 to 5,500. 110,000 recipients are provided with the senior citizens pension. Under the UNC, persons who are also receiving an NIS pension could only get a maximum senior citizens grant of $1,500. So don't let them lie to you and fool you. This government, Minister Cox, paid our senior citizens their pension on time, every time during COVID. Other countries in the world couldn't pay their civil servants, couldn't pay salaries. We not only did that, we made sure that senior citizens got their pension on time. We also increased tax allowance. You ask, well, what's tax allowance? If you were earning over $5,000, you have to pay tax. This government took a decision to raise that ceiling to $7,500. 200,000 citizens and workers got the benefit of that, meaning that if you're in that bracket of $7,500 and under, you don't pay tax, so you get more money in your pocket. So these are the things that we do as a responsible government. Another area I stand here tonight to say that as Prime Minister I intend for the government to focus on is the area of customer service in the public service. Customer service in the public service is going to get focus. Because you see, all of our citizens who need to go into a government office and you need to line up and you need to ask for your birth certificate, or you need to pay a bill, or you need to get a grant, or you need to get access to disability grants, or you need to go and register for your pension, we, as the next government, are going to focus heavily on customer service. We must allow our citizens, when you walk in, you get treated with kindness, you get treated with respect, you get treated with a more helpful attitude. We must change the culture that it is, you can't do that. Okay, well, if I can't do it this way, what is the solution? Tell me how I could do it. And because it's a two-way street, so I'm putting you on notice. We, the citizens, have to treat the public servants with respect, with kindness. Because you know the saying, if you smile, somebody will smile back at you. You treat somebody good, they will treat you well as well. So under the next government, customer service is going to be a big issue. And we've started the digitization. That is going to make it a lot easier. I told Minister Bacchus and his Ministry of Digital Transformation the other day, your incubation period done. You're a new ministry, you're a ministry now. So get ready under me that I want everything achieved. Because then they can't tell you, I lose your file. They can't say, well, I lost the form. They can't ask you, well, what's your name and address? It will all be there. And that ties into the other thing that I said we are going to have, that there seems to be, there's not confusion, mischief about. The Ministry of Implementation and Efficiency is going to happen. It's not going to be a big ministry. So don't let them fool you about why you need another ministry to get things that should be done. I did it. Out of the office of the Prime Minister, the minister in the office of the Prime Minister, that is what Dr. Rowley used, one of the things he used to have me doing. When we needed to get a project done, the minister in the office of the Prime Minister, me, had the ability to go where I needed to go and to get behind the red tape in a legal manner. So when I said that and I saw persons trying to throw shade on it and talk about all kind of concepts taking place in other countries, that's not it. I am standing here and telling the people of Trinidad and Tobago, we will have a Ministry of Implementation and Efficiency with the right minister there, with a small staff, not to change the law, not to change how we operate, but to get things done. Because that is what we need. We cannot afford to lose the opportunities. We are competing with other countries for opportunities. Listen, in deciding who you're voting for, You have a government, a PNM, that has policy and plans. You have a prime minister who will continue laying out the plans and our vision for the future. Versus you have someone and a party on the other side. Don't be fooled. They are only interested in getting their hands on your money and taking it for themselves. As I told you, they didn't negotiate a single energy contract. I'll talk about energy in the next few days, not tonight. But the one that they negotiated is still costing us billions of dollars, and that hurts me. It hurts me as a citizen because they are incompetent. They are not focused. So you have that versus what you have standing in front of you. This week, a few days ago, today is Friday, on Wednesday, I had to go and represent Trinidad and Tobago and the CARICOM. I had to jump on a plane and go to Jamaica because the Secretary of State of the United States, Marco Rubio, invited me as the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago to come for a bilateral meeting. Fortunately, as I told the country yesterday, it was an excellent meeting. It was a meeting where the experience, the soberness, the ability to advocate and negotiate, the ability to do what is right for Trinidad and Tobago was able to shine in the room. And I thank you for giving me that opportunity. But you know what we need to know and what we need to focus on? Whilst I was doing that, whilst I was preparing with the Trinidad and Tobago team to go and meet with Secretary of State Rubio in something that is going to potentially decide the future of Trinidad and Tobago and the CARICOM, a meeting as important as that, the opposition had a press conference in the Leader of the Opposition's office. And the member, a frontline member of the opposition, went before the media, went before the country, broadcast it on social media. And you know what was one of his messages? Whilst your government and whilst I was fighting for Trinidad and Tobago, well, the US ain't going to take on Young. Well, the US are going to sanction Young. Young does only meet with Maduro. Rowley is Rowley and Young. That is no laughing matter. Because you see, that type of behavior is what the opposition has to offer. If you know that your government is going there to fight for Trinidad and Tobago in difficult circumstances, why would you go and try and change the narrative to a negative narrative? It's not going to affect Stuart Young, you know. Because you remember that same opposition wrote to the United States government and asked for Rowley and Young to be sanctioned. You remember that? Well, look how God smiled on us. Because despite all that they did, the credibility that this government has, the hard work that we have put in, the conversations that we have had with whoever is in government in the United States, led to us having that opportunity of a meeting with Secretary Rubio. But Trinidad and Tobago pay careful attention to the attitude of those who want to destroy Trinidad and Tobago. Those who have at every stage attacked all that is being done that is good for the future of Trinidad and Tobago. It didn't work, thank God. And it will not work. And that is another reason why on the 28th of April, all who want what is right for Trinidad and Tobago have to vote for the People's National Movement. So compare and contrast. You wait, you look at it, you study it. You have two leaders. You make your decision. I put myself forward. I put myself forward to serve. I am the people's servant. I put myself forward willing to listen willing to make the time to engage, willing to walk, willing to put my energy, my focus, my attention to build Trinidad and Tobago. To get down as I did yesterday right here in RUNG, where's St. Joseph. To stand up before you on every occasion with accountability and transparency and report to you, the citizens, because I understand and I've always understood that it is the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago that give us the privilege to serve you. But on the other hand, you have someone who came right here around where's St. Joseph, right here in the last 24 hours. And when being asked by citizens about plans and how you're going to deal with foreign exchange and how you're going to deal with young people who don't have jobs, said without a worry in the world, smiling, smirking, and laughing at you, I don't have time, I'm not ready to tell plans. It is because you don't have plans. Around where St. Joseph, Trinidad and Tobago, I've spent the last 9.5 years serving in your government. The last 9.5 years serving in a number of different portfolios. Minister in the Ministry of the Attorney General and Legal Affairs, like Renuka. Minister in the Office of the Prime Minister. Minister of Communication, Minister of National Security, Minister of Energy, and now as your Prime Minister. And you know what that has given me? Thanks to you, it has given me the experience to do what is right for Trinidad and Tobago. It has given me the experience, and I say this without fear of contradiction, more experience than some who serve in Parliament for 20, 30 years who now want to be Prime Minister again. And you can measure it in real and tangible terms, what I have been able to deliver to Trinidad and Tobago in those 9.5 years, to you. We have a strong foundation, and it is time now to allow us, along with you, join us. Let us unify. Let us go forward with unity. Join me, join the PNM team, because it is a team. We can only do it as a team. But join us and let us write a new chapter for Trinidad and Tobago. Let us manage what is ahead of us. There will be good times, there will be difficult times. There will be hard decisions to make. It is not about just standing up and saying, I will give you this and I'll give you that. Over the next few weeks, I will tell you in a sober, sane, and proper manner what are some of the things that this government is going to continue to do for you, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, as I've done tonight. You will understand the focus, the fight, and what I am determined to do along with the PNM team and their support to write a new chapter for Trinidad and Tobago. Thank you for your attention tonight. And stand by and get ready as we write the new chapter for Trinidad and Tobago. And I look forward to welcoming all who want to build us, Trinidad and Tobago, on a strong foundation, to join Team PNM at Balizé House on April 28th, after you've cast your vote for us, and for us to say together in unison, great is the PNM, great is the PNM, great is the PNM, and we have prevailed. I thank you. I thank you.
There you have it, my friends. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. What an amazing, remarkable, and powerful evening of presentation brought to you by the People's National Movement. We always hold ourselves to a higher standard, and what you received this evening was a higher standard of presentation, of performance, of delivery, of leadership for the people of Trinidad and Tobago. We had an amazing program, an amazing platform here in Aranguez, St. Joseph, the first capital of Trinidad and Tobago. with a very strong incoming Member of Parliament who will be returned with your support. You heard from him this evening, Minister Terence Dial-Singh. You also heard from our Minister of National Security, the Honorable Marvin Gonzalez, and of course, the Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago.